Friends out there, this is Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, and it is just about 10 minutes before 6 in the morning here in Northern California. 5:50 if you prefer. But I hope everybody's doing as good as possible under the dire civilization-wide circumstances of humanity. It's tough. It's tough being human. And the older you get, the more you empathize. You know, if you're going to survive this thing and see your life through and enjoy it as best as you possibly can, you're going to have to wake up eventually, you know. And there's a big problem out there with cognitive dissonance. And if you look up the term, it's a little obscure. It's kind of difficult to understand it. But if you try, you basically get the gist of it. It's like blocking out what we can't deal with. So a lot of times it's blocking out basically the reality that we're all facing day in and day out. So it's stuff that's staring you in the face, but you say, you know what, I don't want to talk about it. So people just go about their lives. They're busy. They've got bills to pay. They're thinking about 1,000,001 different things. And the last thing they want to spend a lot of time thinking about is the unfairness, the injustice of the social economic structure in this world. But it's a big deal. It has everything to do with picking and choosing who gets freedom in regard to financial freedom. And that's a big deal. Okay, that is a big deal. It's the same as enslavement through violent means. It's just a different way of getting there. It's taking away people's hope. And that's a bad thing, friends. And we need to wake up to that. So it entails being honest, really. If we're honest, we say, you know, I don't care that I don't feel this injustice, this unfairness affects me directly. I am going to care. I'm going to really give a damn. And I'm going to speak out on behalf of others because I feel it in my soul, this need, because I'm just being honest. I'm just saying, you know what? All right, you know what? Let's look at economics as a game because humans are the only ones that do this and imbibe in this stupid game. There's not another creature out there that would waste its time on this crap. But yet we're all just enmeshed in it, okay? And we don't understand what a big deal it is and how it really affects our psyche, our mood, our sense of well-being, our sense of freedom, our sense of security, of just simply being allowed to be out of fear, to say, God gave me life. And if God wants me in fear, so be it. But I'm not going to be in fear over a bunch of freaking nuts, a bunch of evil geniuses that are ruling this world system vis-a-vis the purse strings. Okay, and it's that cut and dry. It's that simple. None of it makes any sense. None of it. I mean, the work that a farm worker does, if we're just being honest, we're not choosing, because you have to be responsible, cognitive dissonance. Then you would say a farm worker, a factory worker, these people, these blue-collar jobs that have no status whatsoever in the social economic structure, right? But these jobs are infinitely more valuable. Their contribution to society, the welfare of society, is imperative. It far outweighs that of all these people making these millions and millions of dollars out there. In the scheme of things, what they're doing, their contribution, we could all live fine without. We cannot live fine without the contribution of farm workers and factory workers. What did I say? That's at all untrue. You know, I kind of was trying to make a pledge to myself that I was going to stay cool, calm, and collected. But you see how easily I get riled. I rile myself up, really. But when I think about the wanton injustice in our land, the unmitigated horrors, the unbridled sickness in society, how can we all not be nuts? Our masters are freaking nuts, man. Of course we're nuts. I thank God for getting older. I mean, there's some perks to getting older and getting a little wisdom and experience under your belt. Because you start seeing things if you're just paying attention, like I say I am. I'm choosing not to have cognitive dissonance. And it's horrific if you just look at it squarely. Just say, well, God, you're a believer, right? Let me see through your eyes. Let me have your spirit, your attitude about this world system. What do you think about this monetary-based unreality that's been shoved down our throats from birth? We get no choice. We're born with this thing. Some man establishes an innocent, innocuous cost of living. No other creature has this burden. But we all just, oh yeah, well, somehow it all makes sense. And I'm going, oh my God, when you look through God's eyes, you go, oh my God, this is insanity. I mean, all we have to do is simply be honest and ask ourselves, look, if you're God and you got 8 billion kids, and remember, any notion you have of God has to be unsurpassable. Otherwise, you got the wrong God. So it's not hard to understand the very heart and mind of God. It's not hidden. It's not a mystery. It's not a secret. So how are you going to be? How are you going to treat your 8 billion children? Are you going to play favorites? The way this world is rife with playing favorites. Winners and losers. Right? Let's be honest. It is, isn't it? It's sick. It's unfairness glaring us all in the face if we're just being honest. I mean, what's it going to take for us to get it? See, I don't want money. I don't want worldly wealth, material possessions, and all this crap. Not if it means somebody else can have it. I mean, if we're going to play the game, for God's sake, let's keep it close. It's no fun. Am I right? Aren't the funnest games out there? Team sports, board games, whatever. Till you don't know who's going to win the thing till the very end. It's down to the wire, right? But when the spread gets too far, it's no fun for a lot of people. And I don't want to be on either side of that game. I'm not a gloater. Obnoxious little pig. Who wants to be a gloater? I'm a winner, I'm a winner. I mean, it's the stupidest thing in the world. You're God's kid, for God's sake. Step up to the plate. Of course you're great, because God is great, and we're his children. We have unlimited potential to expand and grow into godliness, our nature being more godly all the time. Just if we're on the right track, we choose the right path to be a believer. And say it all makes sense only from God's perspective. This original sin, all this crap, this screwed us up, the knowledge of good and evil. I mean, when we think about how screwed up we are just sexually, how we all have all these hang-ups about our nakedness, and I'm just as human as anybody else. I could be a prude, and I can not be a prude. I mean, that's kind of, double-faced, right? But yet we all can understand that. Okay, we understand modesty, and we can understand what is the opposite of that, immodesty. So, well, what's there to be ashamed? Just a body? God, is God shameful for making me naked? I mean, that's the way he made the body, right? So we can say logically, yeah, we shouldn't be hung up on nudity and all this. But yet we are very hung up. And you see all the problems related, like sexual issues, people getting murdered over love and all this. And I'm thinking, well, what would it have been like? Use your imagination. Imagine what it would have been like if we didn't have knowledge of good and evil. Perhaps it would be purely innocent. We could exchange our very powerful sexual energies, very positive, very beautiful sexual energies with each other without a hint of shame or guilt. Is that the way it is now? No, not at all. It's the opposite. You see, so you can understand how dramatically, profoundly different things would be if it wasn't for this fall of man, the original sin. When God was upset, he wished he didn't even create us at one point. And thank God for his amazing grace. Otherwise, he could have just stuck us all in the garbage can and recycled us. But he had mercy and he had a plan, and that plan ended with the return of Christ. That's the time. That's the one that so many believers refer to as the rapture, but that term is not in the scriptures. But changed in the twinkling of an eye is. See, we're going to be changed rapidly. Your body, this physical body of death that we're all inhabiting now, it's very sad. It's very poignant existence in that sense, that we all have this horrific thing called death hanging over our heads day and night. And we might far more dread the death of a loved one than our own. It's just horrific, right? So, I mean, we need God. I need God. We all need God. We turn to God. God, help me. Comfort me. And help me to comfort others in this very difficult existence with this horrific thing called death hanging over our heads day in and day out. And God's there to help you. But this rapture, or the changing and the twinkling of an eye, when the mortal coil is changed to be imperishable, immortal, a vastly, infinitely, almost inconceivably superior body. I believe we keep all our senses. Why would we lose our senses? If it's a better body, you're going to have your five senses. Everything's going to be, yeah, you want it just as real, right? You got to believe that God is able to do this and wants to do it, because you're his beloved child as much as anybody. And he loves his stinkers. If I'm talking to stinkers out there, I'm talking, it's you. We're all the same. We get the same reward. It's an eternity in paradise. But the last thing you want to do on the judgment day, or the day of reckoning, when we give account for our belief systems and our values, are they in line with God's? We're being honest, simply being honest. Like a little kid, it doesn't take a lot of intellect to be honest. I mean, kids learn to lie, what, at 3 or 4, right? I looked it up recently. I think if my memory serves, it's about that age. It's pretty young. But we need pure hearts to enter the kingdom of heaven, in a better world, to be found worthy and deserving of inheriting a better world. And it's got to be. You've got to see through God's eyes, and you'll agree with me. It's got to be a world without any form of money. We cannot deal with this. It's not right. It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. It's a very wealthy planet in terms of resources, right? We would all agree. It's God's planet. We would all agree. We're God's equally beloved children. We would all agree. So what would you do if you were God? You understand? What point is there in any form of money? We got to figure this thing out some other way that's fair.